It's an honor to be here, obviously a pleasure. GAMA is a fantastic organization. I really appreciate being a part of it and for being allowed to be the chairman this year. What we're going to be talking about today is obviously some of the good points, some of the bad points, where we're at as an industry, and review the past year. So we want to start by saying the good news. We've got another record year for the general aviation industry. And for those in the industry, give yourself an applause. Good job. We're setting records this year in safety, in the global marketplace, in employment and backlog, and I do want to talk about some of these a little bit more specifically. Obviously, safety. Safety is the single most important parameter that all of us look at in this industry. And fortunately, this year we did have record low fatality results. The trend has been down for a number of years, and that's very important. Obviously, it will never cease being an essential focus for the industry. But as we keep driving this down, we're in a great place to continue to grow the industry. I've got a quote here from Nick Sabatini at the FAA, which is that this record is due to a dedicated commitment to safety by everyone in general aviation. In particular, manufacturers are providing sophisticated technology like GPS and glass cockpits and training to go with them, and the FAA is vigorously encouraging adoption of these safety enhancements. We can all feel very good that it is new technology, new aircraft, new training methods, and a continued focus on safety which will help drive these levels hopefully even lower in the future.
Aero-TV is brought to you by...
Today, there is an affordable, high-performance, easy-to-own and easy-to-operate very light jet designed with you in mind. Far less expensive than any other twin-engine jet to buy, it is also the least expensive to own and operate. It is the Eclipse 500, the jet that's easy to buy, easy to fly, and fun to own. The jet for you.
Now, back to Aero-TV.
So let's talk about the global marketplace. This is obviously a very good news story for our industry. When you look at economic growth across the industry, we have seen continued economic strength in North America with a 3% growth. But we're seeing the same thing continue around the world. 5% in the Latin American countries, 4% over in the Middle East and Africa, 3% in Europe, and obviously quite impressively 7% in the Asian countries. Global economic growth is essential, but it's not just the economic growth. It is that our industry is becoming more broadly focused. If you look at aircraft deliveries, you see the same thing. In North America, where we still have robust demand, and obviously the majority of the aircraft delivered, 58% of the worldwide jets, for example, has been the bedrock of our industry. But we're seeing growth in other places. Let's look at Latin America, where jets now make up 8% of the total deliveries went to Latin America. Very strong performance by turboprops, and obviously piston engine aircraft growing there as well. Europe continues to be strong. Many of you will have heard me say this before. I always think it's funny when the Europeans talk about they don't need a strong general aviation because they've got a great train system. And I always laugh at that because I've been on some European trains. They've got a couple really good ones and a whole bunch of really bad ones. The only reason they think or used to think they didn't need strong general aviation is because they hadn't experienced general aviation. But as Europe grows, both economically and geographically, and expanding to the east, obviously they're going to recognize the benefits that we do in general aviation. So we're seeing that in increased numbers. 25% of the jet aircraft are delivered to Europe.
Aero-TV is brought to you by... Cirrus aircraft have always been easy to fly. Now they're easier than ever to buy. A complete line of ownership programs gives you everything you need to purchase, trade, finance, lease, insure, and warranty your Cirrus. There's even an ownership program for non-pilots. The Cirrus Access Pilot can teach you how to fly, or fly the plane for you. Find out more at www.cirrusdesign.com. Cirrus, for the love of flying. Now, back to Aero-TV.
Africa and the Middle East, obviously jets are starting to gain momentum there as well, driven primarily by the Middle Eastern economy. For those of you who haven't noticed, it is going to be a very, very, very important part of the world economy, what's going on in the Middle East. And they are truly focused on growing it. And we're fortunate that they recognize that general aviation is an important part of that as well. And then, of course, Asia and Pacific, which is a very promising, huge amount of potential demand. Large populations, large distances, and less infrastructure than a lot of parts of the world. So we can all look forward to increased growth there in the years to come. If you look at the forecast then, this really is a very bright spot. From a U.S. balance of trade, for example, when we think about the economy, we are very fortunate to be able to be an important part of the U.S. export market. And we see these continuing. So in the future, then this is Honeywell's 5-year forecast, we're down to 50% in the U.S. for business jet sales, so down from 58. Now, obviously, that'd be bad news if we were talking about a shrinking market. But in fact, what we're talking about is an expanding market where it increases everywhere else, and particularly in Asia, where we should see continued increases in aircraft deliveries.